keep my remarks brief because I know that there are other people here today who have things that they'd like to share as well. But as was mentioned, Mr. Bianchi was originally nominated for this at his previous school. So some of you who were not here at that time may be wondering, how did Mr. Bianchi get here to Energy Tech? So I want to tell you just a little story, just in case you might not know. Back, I think it was in maybe 2018, 2019, we were at a robotics competition, upstate, Hudson Valley Regional, and we met Mr. Bianchi. Wow. He happened to walk by the pit, stop by, started up a conversation. We learned he lived in Astoria.
Wow.
Wow. We had long admired the work of Harlem Nights, and his reputation preceded him. And I said, why don't you come by the school one day? And our students who were part of the robotics program at the time were like, yes, this is a great idea. Get him to come by the school. We're going to convince him. We're going to get Mr. Bianchi to Energy Tech. So he came by, had a conversation. We set up an interview for him to come in. He had a classroom demo. As our students know, we often involve our students in the hiring process. And he had unanimous hire Mr. Bianchi as feedback. And when we went back to have an interview with some of our staff, one of our staff members at the time was walking by and she said, Mr. Bianchi? And she happened to also be a former student from his school who had not taken a class with him, but she said, oh no, I've heard all about him. Like, you guys should definitely hire Mr. Bianchi. Lo and behold, we were able to lure Mr. Bianchi. And what a great decision that was for everyone. So when Mr. Bianchi first joined us, he helped launch new classes here at Energy Tech. So many of you know we've been launching new AP coursework, new engineering coursework, bringing new opportunities. We relaunched our robotics team in that first year, and it went from being only a handful of students to 15 at most to over 65 students. So it tripled the team in that first year. And if you look around the room, you'll see, like a lot of you were new to robotics because of Mr. Bianchi for our students and for our staff. So we introduced new structures that enabled more students to participate in a variety of different capacities, more staff to participate in a variety of capacities. We planned our first overnight trip. So all of you can here remember that very first trip that we planned didn't happen. Because of what was it? Because of the pandemic. And it was coincided with that time when the school shut down. We were disappointed. Robotics kept on online. We had students winning awards online. People were still meeting on Zoom, keeping the spirit alive. And then it was this year that we actually went on our first overnight trip for the whole school, going from 0 overnight trips ever to an 8-day. Planned and coordinated in less than a week. So many students. We won our very first robotics awards at regional competitions this year. And in that year, we were recognized by the College Board for having significantly increased the representation of female students for both that course and AP Computer Science principles. So really thank you for that. So Mr. Bianchi's had a hand in so many things shaping the programming of our school as we continue to reopen and evolve. Many of you may not know what a big hand he had in reopening. Last year and this year, getting students over to Cornell Tech again for the first time. Getting robotics relaunched was no easy feat. Getting the school reopened was no easy feat. In addition to that, Mr. Bianchi, since the beginning, has been tutoring students, not only in classes here, but also on the college campus. So when I say, many of you who see Mr. Bianchi, he's always running. Raise your hand if you've seen Mr. Bianchi running at least once today. He's always running back and forth between here and the campus. During the pandemic, when schools were closed, there were students who I knew had finals coming up at the college campus, and I was reaching out. They said, don't worry about it. Mr. Bianchi met with us last night. I said, what are you talking about? 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, Mr. Bianchi's on Zoom. So anytime anybody needed help, he was there. When students have been applying for jobs, he's been there, helping them study for placement exams. He's been a driving force in our school community in the very short time that he's been here. And again, we cannot think of anyone who would be more deserving of this recognition. So at this point, I'd like to thank him one more time for all of his service to our school, and I'd like to turn it over to Malachi.
Good evening, everyone. I want to take a moment and congratulate all the teachers who have won the Sloan Award and are making an impact within their schools and communities. It's not an easy job, but you are all doing it, and doing it well, might I add. Before I get to the fun part, let's look into Mr. Bianchi's ability to teach to all learning styles, his passion for knowing his students in and out of the classroom, and his countless efforts to make sure there is joy in learning. Allow me to take us all on a trip down history lane. I'm nervous as heck. I started high school at the Frederick Douglass Academy in Harlem, and as most ninth graders, I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I grew up. I wanted to be a garbage man. I remember times in middle school, I would arrive late to school because I waited for the garbage truck just to come to my house, collect our garbage, just so I can see it, make all the garbage disappear at the pull of a lever. So that's what I wanted to do. When I told my mom I wanted to do that, she said, go ahead and do that, but only after you move out of my house. I entered high school on the first day and saw that I had a class called robotics with a teacher named Bianchi. I was not interested in this class at all, especially when I already knew the career I wanted to do. So I was destined to get out of that class by any means possible, and I meant that literally. The first couple of days went by, and I was still ready to be out of that class. So what did I do? I started throwing bolts across the room, being the class clown, and just outright causing a disruption whenever I could. And sure enough, I was sent out of the classroom, just as I wanted to be. But I had to keep that up in order for me to be able to get out of the class completely. So I did. But every day went by, and I was still in his class. And then kicked out in the hallway, of course. Fast forward to the end of the year, it comes, and I'm glad to be out of his class. Summer comes and lasts for what felt like 2 weeks, and we start the new school year. And on my schedule is mechatronics with Bianchi. I was beyond furious. In my head, all I could say is, did this man not learn? So I had the same game plan for my 10th grade year, but at this time, it was hard to execute. The lessons were interesting, I was building cool stuff, I was learning skills that I wanted to learn for a long time, but I couldn't because I lost my father early on. And I found myself staying after school to learn more and more and more. During the time I was doing projects, Mr. Bianchi would help me and answer some of my questions, if not all of them. I mean, he is a teacher with many students, right? Like that. Okay. He pushed me to explore more, and introduced me to great people who share a passion similar to his, changing the lives of students. From getting the call at 6:30 a.m. that by 8 a.m. I would need to be at Good Morning America to present my end-of-the-year mechatronics project, The Shade Awake, to becoming the captain of the robotics team. Mr. Bianchi has become more than a teacher for me. He's become a mentor, a motivator, inspiration, and a second dad. Mr. Bianchi has a job in which he does phenomenally, teaching students who come into his class at a 0 skill set and bring them up to a 4, pushing those that come in at a 2 and bring them to an 8, educating not only in the areas that help pass tests, but areas that help pass life, bringing hands-on learning to the forefront of all classes, where the students don't just listen, but they do, making a class structure in which the students get to have responsibilities, whether it be the project manager, or the mechanical lead, or even just the presentation prep. Yet time after time, he's done more, and not only just for me, but for many students. He's someone who I would say has a superpower, the ability to push you no matter how much you push back, because he sees the potential in you before you or many others do. His ability to stay calm in even some of the most stressful situations, like a student who every day causes a disruption in your class, amongst the many other superpowers he possesses, is truly amazing. To be able to stand in front of all of you, nervous, and share my story is incredible. To be able to go from a troublemaking student in class to a student in his classes that went above and beyond, to a captain of the robotics team, to a mentor of Mr. Bianchi's new robotics team, is success in and of itself. To being a STEM instructor both online and at the STEM Center speaks volumes to Mr. Bianchi's impact. You are beyond deserving of this award, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to learn so much from you and work so closely with you. Congratulations.
I love making things. I think it's so cool that you can think of something in your head and design it and it comes to life. But as a teacher, I feel like I get those experiences as well. I love when I'm able to make something happen in real life and you feel so proud of what you've accomplished. And then it's like double that when a kid you helped get that feeling as well.
When I think about Joel, he really lives in the world of yes and in the world of possibility. And no matter the different challenge or roadblock that we've encountered over the past few years that he's been with us, especially during the pandemic, he's the kind of person who consistently is looking for different ways to bring students new opportunities in STEM, to help them see themselves in really rigorous STEM fields in which they may have never envisioned a possibility for themselves.
We have a big deficiency in our country, not enough students doing it, particularly not enough students of color, not enough women getting into it. So how do we create experiences on the high school level where a student can say, oh yeah, engineering, that's for me. I want to do that, I want to pursue that. But a lot of it, I think, is just inspiration. They don't want to do it, they don't think it's fun, they don't think it's exciting. So how can we take STEM and make it fun and exciting? In my engineering class, I try to make it very hands-on. So you're learning theory, it's rigorous, but you have to make it do something. You have to take a pumpkin and cut it up, and instead of a regular pumpkin at Halloween, you have a pumpkin that's talking to someone or shining lights when they walk by.
It's not unusual to, at the end of the day, see a robot driving down the hallway, or to have students engage in a really heated argument about a different apparatus or a different design element that they've been working on. Very recently, I went into his class, and there were wild cheers coming from the room, and there was a robot battle happening. And robots that they'd been working on for weeks were battling it out.
My goal at some point in the year, and the sooner the better, is that the classroom is a place for the kids to ask me more questions than I'm asking them. Can I get to the point where they're doing research on something because they want to solve a problem and not because they're trying to get a grade?
He's really great about building the independent thinking and learning habits for students, and the culture around sometimes we have to design and prototype and test and scrap things, and we might have to spend so many hours, and we're not going to get frustrated about it because in engineering that happens. Sometimes we have to go back to the drawing board. And you really see that especially with our students in the advanced engineering senior course and in AP computer science. Build that patient problem solving and intellectual maturity over the course of the semester. And I think that's one of the things that stands out the most about him.
When I got to Frederick Douglass Academy, they had just started a robotics team. The kids were like, Mr. Bianchi, we're going to build a robot? I was like, I don't know. I was like, we don't have a coach. It's like, you're the coach. So we had a lot of rough years where I didn't know what I was doing. But I feel like part of engineering is problem solving. And you learn it. Every year you learn a new skill. Okay, let's learn about electrical. Let's learn about mechanical. How do you design arms that do that? Oh, code. We need to put code in our robot. Let's start learning how to do that. What I love about FIRST Robotics is the greatest award isn't about even winning with your robot. It's called the Chairman's Award, where you're recognized for how you promote within your own school and outside of your school opportunities for others. Our team won the Chairman's Award twice. There was a moment when our team would go to competition and our kids would feel confident enough to not work on our robot during competition, but go around to the pits for other teams and help them. And I feel like that was like the goals. I think when a kid can reach that point, then they've really mastered what they're doing, and they're gonna make a big impact whatever they might do.
I am more than honored and blown away by the love and support and recognition.
It's fine.
I am just very grateful for each and every one of you here, people watching on video. I love teaching, and I love the opportunity, and it's so cool when you're recognized for the work you do, and it's just, it's very humbling right now. I have something written on this paper. There's a lot of people to thank because I don't think you get anywhere in life without a lot of support of others. And just first of all, thank you to Sloan Award. Thank you, Adrian, Jennifer, Kitty Barnes, who interviewed me. I really appreciate the opportunity and the recognition as well. So I wanted to share, I have a list, and I would talk about some of the things, I was thinking what to say and thinking about what are the, I can't name everything because life is complex, but what are some of the things in life that have really had really deep impacts on me becoming a teacher and teaching. And so there's different people that have had these kind of big moments in my life. So, you know, I wouldn't be here without my mother, just a biological fact. My mom was a kindergarten teacher, and I remember being a kindergartner, I was a pre-K or kindergarten. I go in her room after school and think, oh, that's so cool, you get to like grade papers, isn't that fun? And it's funny that she would have the greatest stories. Right? She'd come home and she'd always tell stories. And so I thought teaching, if anything, is not boring. Teaching there's always exciting, maybe more exciting than you want it to be, but teaching is exciting. My dad, for this weird accident, was my 5th grade teacher. It's the only time I ever failed science in my life. So that didn't last long, but I really appreciate my father. He was always somebody, he still shows me just going the extra mile, working multiple jobs to provide for the family. And always still doing it with a smile, and even when he'd work 3 shifts, he'd still take time for other people. My 6th grade teacher, I moved to a new school. I was this nerdy kid, new, and I remember a teacher really helping me feel welcomed when I was the outcast, when I wasn't in the in crowd. And after 1 year in that classroom, I felt like I really belonged at the school. I felt like that's what a teacher should be. In high school, my math and science teacher, Miss Smith, she was the first, I don't want to say first, but then I'm not blaming my other teachers, not saying they were bad, but the one that just really stands out, she really made math and science fun. I was like, oh, I liked math and science, but I wanted to be a lawyer or a political science major, but it was like, oh wow, I never knew a math classroom could be a really fun experience. I learned so much, and it wasn't just, writing notes all the time. When I didn't become a lawyer. I think my priorities got rearranged in college from being a political science major to a history major to being an engineering major. And I like all those things, but I kind of got pushed in the teaching track. It kind of just appeared. And I said, let me do for a couple of years. And I got hired my first job by Dr. Hodge, who passed away. He was the principal of Frederick Douglass Academy in Harlem. And he said, he saw something in me that I didn't see. He said, oh, you're going to be a robotics coach. I'm like, I never did any robotics. I did engineering. But the first day he threw me in a room with some 7th graders, put some Lego robots, and said, figure it out. I was like, okay, this is fun. I like Legos. I coached the FLL team that year. The school just started an FRC team. I was just on for the ride. I was doing CAD with 3 kids and watching all these other people, like Thomas Horan or Mr. Risnor or some students from Stephen Institute come and teach me what T-slot was or how to build a robot. And the next year people couldn't really come back for various reasons, and then I kind of got forced to be the coach. And I've been coaching FRC robotics for 17 years now. Robotics as an institution really has made a big difference to me, but because they promote not just winning, but about how you serve others. And I really appreciate that about that throughout the years. In my first year teaching, there was a teacher down the hallway, he was a calculus teacher, Mr. Nixon, and he was so confident, and he sat me down every lunch, and I was new, I don't know what's going on. I have people like Malachi in my room causing all kinds of chaos, and he's like, you gotta put the desks in order, you gotta do this. He would sit with me, he would eat with me, and he was like 20 years older than me. He would pray with me during my lunch period, and really felt me feel like I could do this. And so I owe a lot to him. There was another assistant principal who was a dean, and whenever I struggled with students, Mrs. Bramble, and she would help me see that every student I see, whether I like teaching them or I don't like teaching them, but if I believe that every student that I see is made in the image of God, then I can't look down on them. I can't just dismiss them. I can't just throw them in the hallway and say, get rid of them. I can go talk to them privately, but I need to I'm not allowed to give up on anyone because we're all have inherent value. I looked at people like Mr. Roebuck, and after several years of teaching, I wanted to create a new course and go further. I didn't know much about electronics, and so all of a sudden I'm at a meeting with Chelsea, and hey, what's an Arduino? And he teaches me what Arduino was. The next year we start a class, it turns into a mechatronics class, and all of a sudden a whole new chapter of my career has started. So much of kind of the innovation, I think, in my curriculum has come in partnerships with Chelsea, and even to this day, so I'm really indebted to that. The pumpkin hacking started with that right there. I've had a lot of supportive administrators, including Mr. Joseph Gates or my assistant principal, Mr. Cusinelli, throughout the years who've been amazing, or people from NYC First, like Pat Daly, who helped me get started and feel like FIRST Robotics is something that I can actually do, and it can seem so overwhelming. What to do, how you pay for it, what's going on. E-Tech has been amazing with our principal and Sarah, like we really have a great system. But in those first few years, and so none of the work that happens without that support that's happening that you might not see. Coming to E-Tech, I felt so empowered as a teacher. I've had several, I've been teaching for a while. It's my 17th year. But I really appreciate here is a place where I can grow and thrive. A boss who says, hey, I see what you're good at, and I'm going to put you in a place to succeed. And so I really appreciated that, and having the freedom to be able to collaborate and innovate with the school and do that. And that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen everywhere. And so I'm really grateful that my privilege I could go on and name everyone in here and hundreds of others as well. Just generally, I would just say, my STEM department colleagues throughout the years have been sources of inspiration and support for me. Robotics support happens with custodians and assistant principals, even when you're always, going past the permit time. The parents who support it and bring snacks and support the team in many, many ways. The alumni, the mentors who come back and bring that energy to the next generation as well. None of the things that I'm a part of and maybe I'm the face of as a coach of a team, but they don't happen without all these other things happening. There's professional organizations like the Teaching Fellows that helped me get started in teaching, or Math for America, that have been phenomenal. And then a special shout out to the E-Tech Chargers robotics team. I think I went from being with one team for 14 years, and it's a very new experience. Each year here at E-Tech is a brand new experience. And there's something remarkable about, say, us winning the Chairman's Award in New York City. I didn't expect it. I was hoping we'd win, but I thought maybe in 5-6 years. And so, yes, there's history with me, Malachi, and others, and Harlem Knights, and winning that. And I think there's definitely some knowledge of, hey, here's how you go about doing it. But the award really is a school award and a team award, and it's something where I was just honored that there was energy here, and there was people here, and there was a lot of great talent and innovation. I'm floored by the resilience, and it gives me energy seeing the resilience of the students. Right? As a teacher, you can't give energy if you're not getting it. It's really, really hard. And so to see people during a pandemic going to the makerspace, coming and, hey, Mr. Bianchi, I want to learn how to program, and we're doing block programming at Cornell Tech. As a teacher, that for me, that's very life-giving, and I really appreciated that. And to come roaring back this year, and all the energy many of you who were on the team gave into that. That helps me be a better teacher and be a better coach, so thank you so much for that. And then, just from the deepest inspiration for me, if you ask, what really is the biggest fuel, I think just, there's probably two major things. One, my wife, Mrs. Bianchi, Faith, who's really been my backbone throughout everything I do. I brainstorm, what should I do here, collaborate. Don't blame her for the mistakes I made, but anything good. She had a giant hand in that, making sure I'm trying to make wise decisions and do things well. But even going back even deeper, there's a Christian author who's been supremely influential for me named Timothy Keller. And I listened to something in my second year teaching. I was cleaning my room. If you haven't realized, I love cleaning. It just gives me and if you think, this room is beautiful, this room is really clean. Right? It was way worse a couple days ago. But I was cleaning and organizing this mess, and he was talking about the work that we do, and the world generally, there's a lot of chaos in the world, and there's a lot of unstructured in the world. And part of what we do, if coming from my faith that I believe in a God who comes to the world and loves the world even in its brokenness, and comes and fixes it, and comes and takes and makes order out of disorder. And so the beautiful thing is I'm called into that as well. And that's really deeply inspiring for me, saying sometimes I was the outcast, sometimes I needed someone to help empower me, and now I can be tasked to do that in the world as well. What way can my work be a way to take someone who doesn't know something and help them know something? How can we take a bunch of metal and wires and turn that into a moving robot? And so being tasked with this, how can we be creative in this world? It's just a deeply inspirational kind of idea for me. And so many of you are already in careers. This is the teacher in me coming out now, and I gotta like teach something, right? So you're in careers, like I think we all have something where what's valuable is, hey, how can we further the mission of kind of creating something and making more? And for all of you who are looking at careers, engineering, computer science, they're great. But not everyone's, realistically, not everyone's going to do that. I didn't. I'm a teacher. But I would say, look for something where you find a career where you feel like, hey, there's a need in the world, there's disorder, there's chaos, and I can bring my gifts and use creativity to make something beautiful out of it. I've been very honored for all the beautiful things people said about me today, and the many years people have empowered me to do that. And so I'm really grateful to you and all of them for the opportunity for these 17 years and hopefully for many more. So thank you very much.
In terms of this nomination, what struck out the panel was not only how infectious, right, how contagious your love for math and robotics is for your students, but also how much you give to your students both in the classroom and after school. So some of your former students and current students mentioned your efforts in tutoring after school. In one instance, setting up an SAT prep after school. In other instances, helping out with coaching the robotics teams. You had the Harlem Nights, and then, the Harlem Nights, and then here you call yours the E-Tech Chargers. Woo. Receiving the chairman award in some of the robotics competitions. Some students pointed out some of the oddest things, like your penchant for spreadsheets. Spreadsheets for everything. And your memes or your quotes in terms of saying, you may not be a basketball player like Kobe Bryant, but you could sure create a robot that could be like Kobe Bryant. So you remember that. Your students also finally remember, your ability to let them know that they can learn math and science and STEM, and that they can have a career in STEM. And that many of the graduates are doing just that. They're continuing what they've learned in high school throughout their college career, and now some of them are even 2, 3, 4, 5 years into their careers, and many of them are able to continue in STEM careers. And they owe that a lot to you, and they mentioned that in the interviews. Just to give you a sense, in the brochure, we highlight and we punctuate the comments of some of your former students, and they point out words like dedicated to his students, or the energy that he brings into the classroom, or how really excited about learning, especially his classes, you make the students. That you're more than a teacher. Some of you call themselves a mentee of yours. Others say you're played a role more of a father figure to them. My mentor and my second father is quoted here in the brochure from one of your students. Helped me launch my nonprofit in teaching robotics to kids, attributed to the work that you've helped them. And this one individual, they went to be Forbes 30 under 30 list one day. And they said they wouldn't be able to achieve that or think that big if it weren't for you. Others say that you made me feel like I could actually do this. Pursue a career in a heavily male-dominated field, from some of your female students, and encourages you to see possibilities when you never would have thought about it. So you get a sense of how your colleagues, how former students and actual students feel about you. One other thing that was mentioned by the students that left an impact in their life, besides the spreadsheets and your memes and your quotes, is one of your students mentioned about the whole pumpkin project. How they created a Mike Tyson pumpkin, where the pumpkin had Mike Tyson's tattoo on it, and it was animated so that if you got too close, it would punch you. So they even mentioned that. So basically, the committee, because of those remarks and the due diligence of your interviewing and the reporting, the District 5 Super Saturdays that you do in terms of bringing STEM into the community, as well as some students mentioning how in your robotics team, in your workshops, in the after school, there's not those divisions that they face outside the classroom. So it was not unusual for it to be very diverse. We're quote unquote athletes or jocks or football players. We're there with math geeks, with special needs students, with team in the rest that were wrestlers, with students that had learning disabilities. Several were valedictorians or salutatorians. So some of them weren't really excited about STEM necessarily, but they were excited to be in the robotics team. Or they were excited to be in their classes. Not to mention that many felt that all but for your efforts, they would have not been exposed to AP courses at a time when AP courses are singularly important to get into college and to stay competitive. And if it weren't for those efforts, they wouldn't have the opportunity to be in AP courses. So for that and many other reasons that we're about to hear, the selection panel thought it worthy to have you be the 2022 Sloan Awards for Excellence in Teaching Science and Math. We believe that teachers are unsung heroes, often not celebrated for the life that the impact they had on people's lives. But all of us remember a teacher that has had an impact in our lives, whether second grade, fourth grade, high school. So we wanted to make sure that when teachers, when we celebrate them, that all New York City gets to know about them. And we do so in several ways. I think we have other copies, but this is a copy honoring all the honorees. In this case, the Daily News, but the AM New York, the New York Post, and Diario de la Prensa all had ads or articles that were run on the different honorees of 2022 Sloan Awards. And different honorees were also able to get interviews as well. So we want to make sure that everybody knows about this. We also want to make sure that folks have a nice commemorative booklet to keep with them. There's an archive of everyone who's previously won. And I think this may be the first awardee from this school. And so that's great. We hope to have more in the future. But we have Brooklyn College. We have all kinds of schools in here. But it also proves that great STEM education is not only the purview of specialized schools. It's happening in all boroughs. It's happening in all types of schools, large and small. Schools with children with individualized education plans, with schools which have science and technology advanced labs and those that don't. Schools that are career technology schools, schools that are transfer schools, schools that are magnet schools, community schools. So in all aspects of New York City, we try to go out and look for great STEM teachers. And we want to make sure that we celebrate them. So we have this commemorative brochure that serves as an archive, but also gives you a sense of all the winners are and the great things that they're doing. And in our website we have videos of all the teachers. There's a video that will be shown shortly here as well that we're very proud of. The next part of the award is we want to make sure that either at the classroom in the school or the place of your choosing, hang up this portrait.
Mr. Bianchi.
You can stay there.
No, we're good.
The next part of the prize is that we want to make sure that while the individuals do it for the love of teaching, we want to make sure that we show a demonstration, a small token of our appreciation to the teachers for doing what they do day in and day out for students. And we do so with the $5,000. And the work of great teachers, right, in terms of unleashing that energy and harnessing that energy and that talent, doesn't happen without great administrators and great school leadership. So we also want to make sure that we provide a grant to the school as well to support their after-school robotics or STEM efforts. So we do this tribute and honor not only the honoree, but the school leadership, and then the students, because after all, this is why we do this, and this is why we're here, for the students. So, the next part of the prize actually, you can't take that to a bank for 18 hours. Put that in there. Make sure you don't lose that. And then another aspect of the prize is the Sloan Awards for Excellence in Science, Teacher Science and Math.